Hey everybody, and welcome to our STEM Capstone course. My name is Dennis DeBay, for those of you that don't know me, and I'm going to be your facilitator for this course. I'm really excited to get a chance to work with you all this semester on what I think is kind of, the really most wonderful culminating part of this whole program, where you're going to get a chance to really dive deep for the last time before you start your own class into, what is it that you've learned about student learning since you've started your program here at CU. And I think that that's really has to be the theme of the work that we do. What have we learned about student learning? So what is Capstone Course? Basically, the idea of Capstone Course is for you to take some time in your lead teaching to really have a chance to do some planning, enacting, and reflecting. And so there are 4 major sections in the Capstone course. The first thing we're going to ask you to do is in Module 1 is to think about kind of on a big scale planning. And so what we're going to have you do is we're going to have you create a unit plan or a unit outline anyway. And you could do this 2 ways. You could go through and build something that is your dream unit that you've always wanted to dream about, your content that you're passionate about, or try to build a unit that is connected to the work that you're doing that you might actually get a chance to teach this semester. So that first part may or may not be connected to what you do for the rest of the semester. In Module 2, we're going to get into planning, and what I'm going to ask of you is to plan 3 to 5 lessons that you're going to be teaching in the last half of the semester after Switch Week. And 3 to 5 lessons could look like a number of different things. You might have some really short times consecutively, so it might be 5 different days. You might have a block schedule, and you might have 2 lessons fit in that hour-and-a-half block, and then 1 lesson the next day. And then at the culmination of those 3 to 5 lessons, which may not be an entire unit, I'm going to want you to have some form of assessment that you're going to use to figure out about what you've learned about student learning. Okay, Module 3 is something we'll talk about in class, but is actually enacted in your site with your site professor. What we're going to ask you to do is to do nightly reflections while you're teaching these 3 to 5 lessons, as well as a culminating reflection on what happened. And what does that mean in terms of monitoring and adjusting the work that you do? If you want to send those to me, I'd love to see them, and we'll talk about it in class. We'll actually do some of these reflections in class throughout the semester to prepare you, but this is something where you're going to be graded by your site professor. And then in Module 4, you remember that very last assessment that you're going to do with the less of these 3 to 5 lessons. You're going to collect your student work, you're going to analyze that work, and try to figure out, what did you learn about student learning? So you're going to look kind of holistically at a large grain size, what happened with my entire class, and then we're going to ask you to take 3 pieces of student work from that assessment and use that to kind of back up what it is you found while you were doing this work. And that really is the whole course. We're going to do a lot of activity. It's a hybrid course, so I don't see you necessarily every week, but we can definitely find times to Zoom or chat or send me lots of emails. I also wanted to talk a little bit about kind of what I would like you to do before we get going into this course. So you're going to get an email from me soon that's going to ask you to do a couple of things. The first thing is going to be able to watch this video. The second thing I'm going to ask you to do is you're going to receive an attachment of one of the documents called the Context for Learning. And what that document is to really kind of dive deep into what you learn about your school and your class. So we're going to ask you for lots of demographic information, kind of like what kind of curriculum your teacher uses or you'll be using, along with, and this is kind of the part that you're going to have to do some research, thinking about the IEPs in your class, the 504 plans, what are the access scores? So I'm going to want you to really at the beginning, before everything gets up and running, to talk to your teacher where you can find all of that information out before we meet. So that would either them or your site professor or coordinator would be good people to kind of figure out from that. The other thing I'm going to ask you to do is I have all of our documents uploaded in a Module 0 in this course. And before we meet in class, what I'd like for you to do is to go through each of these documents, and they're set up in an online program called Hypothesis, which is an online annotating tool. And what I'm going to have you do is I'm going to have you go through and mark up and annotate all of these documents, at least something in every single one of these documents, so that you have a starting place before we meet. So when we have this conversation, it's not going to be having have you read them or kind of have an initial thought. We're going to come in with some information, and we're going to use your questions, your thoughts, your concerns as the way for us to discuss what really is this semester going to look like. It's quite a bit of work this semester, but it's going to be a lot of fun. And what I like about it is that you're so much more focused on the work you're doing on your internships, which to me is kind of one of the most exciting things that you do in a teacher ed program. And again, as always, most importantly, please email me at any point. I'm here and I'm really excited to work with you and kind of think through all of these ideas as we move through this course together. It's going to be kind of, I think, a really cool road trip for us all, and I'm looking forward to working with you all. Thanks so much.